Sacha is a life science entrepreneur with 20 plus years of experience in biotech, medical devices, and diagnostics, working across various disease areas and platforms. Sacha was the CEO of Biosys UK, a BC-backed clinical stage microbiome company, and led several healthcare investments at Inventages, a London-based global life science fund. Sacha is now back in Canada and is an executive in residence at Novateur Ventures. Sacha epitomizes the mentorship first spirit of being a CDL mentor. She's highly regarded in the community for doing the often difficult but necessary work behind the scenes in building the ventures before they are then able to raise their initial financing. Sacha, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the stage.
Thank you, Paul. So it's an honor to speak at Super Session. It's actually the highlight for me every year at CDL. So I want to thank the team for the opportunity for me to share some of my thoughts on medical innovation with you. As the other speakers have said, we're in a biotech renaissance, in my opinion, with so many different ways to develop new treatments and cure more diseases than ever before. The WHO has set 2020 as a decade for disease elimination. We're almost there with some of the diseases like hepatitis C that has over 90% cure rates. I'm going to talk about a few different technology areas that I think will help us eliminate more diseases as we move through. Some of you have had mRNA vaccines to protect you against COVID-19. This is a very new and emerging area for biotech, and the delivery of mRNA vaccines via lipid nanoparticles is based on discoveries at UBC. The mRNA vaccines, I think, are just the tip of the iceberg of how we can use mRNA to develop new technologies. mRNA 2.0 is focused on making mRNA active inside specific cell types to only target disease versus healthy tissue and fight against cancer and infectious diseases. With this type of precision, as Ali mentioned in his talk, we can deliver more mRNA to increase potency and hopefully cure more diseases while minimizing side effects. With rare diseases such as cystic fibrosis, we now have mRNA drugs in the clinic where mRNA is actually sprayed on the lungs of patients so they can produce a key protein implicated in this disease. And this program, however, has faced recent setbacks due to delivery challenges. So biotech isn't easy, but I think going forward, there'll be more investment in this area, more companies working with this exciting modality as we figure out new ways to deliver it as well. Gene therapies allow us to repair or inactivate disease-causing genes. We can reprogram immune cells to fight against cancer, for example, by genetically modifying a patient's T cells outside of their body, and the first few cell therapies are now approved for blood cancers. The significance of CRISPR technology resulted in 2 Nobel Prizes awarded in 2020 to the main investors of this technology. CRISPR gene editing allows us to edit gene defects in cells to help cure diseases such as sickle cell disease, where the patient's blood stem cells are genetically modified and reinfused, and the patient's immune system can then rely on an alternative form of hemoglobin. In the future, new technologies will allow us to edit cells directly inside the body, which should be safer with faster treatment times. We will also hopefully see cell therapies approved for solid cancers and autoimmune disorders, and we can potentially cure HIV, for example, with gene transfer, genome editing. Some challenges that still need to be solved with gene therapy are tissue targeting, repeat dosing, and increasing potency. We will also see more companies developing mixed modality drugs where different functionalities brought together with engineering and conditionally activated drugs to minimize side effects. Neuroscience has been a very challenging space for drug developers, and new approaches have been aimed at modifying the underlying cause of disease and not just treating the symptoms. Exactly 1 week ago, we had the first antibody drug approved for Alzheimer's disease in almost 20 years. It's quite a controversial yet a defining and landmark moment for patients, families, drug developers, and payers. There's currently more focus on developing drugs for neurodegenerative conditions genetically linked to disease that are now in the clinic. For example, a drug that inhibits increased levels of protein that can cause the main disease pathology in Parkinson's disease. In the future, we will see more focus on using new tools and technology applied to neuroscience drug development. For example, the use of biomarkers that tell us the presence or severity of disease, the use of genetics and AI to not only develop new drugs and identify new drug targets, but also to select the right patients for clinical trials, in diseases that have multiple underlying causes. If we want to cure diseases, we need to diagnose them earlier. Companies are developing minimally invasive ways to detect cancer, dementia, eye, lung, liver diseases using tests based on clinical blood biomarkers, genetic imaging, computer and machine vision, and applying AI and machine learning, for example. We can apply AI to genetic and patient clinical data to diagnose rare diseases. We can use digital twins created from sequenced DNA, lab results, imaging, and clinical data to build physical, chemical, and biological models and simulate and identify personal treatments for chronic diseases. I've seen a lot of innovation come to fruition in the 20 years I've spent in life sciences, and I hope to see more technologies moving forward and more diseases eliminated in the next few decades. And I agree with the other speakers. I think CDL is a great platform for companies that are developing new technologies to meet this big, audacious goal. Thank you.